Hey there and welcome. It's good to have you here and thank you so much for signing in. I just want you to know that during the planning of episode 2, several conversations were had in our team about the existing situation in the US and the global response to it. As a group, we recognize the need to raise awareness and to take action against systemic racism. We stand in solidarity and forever when we say Black Lives Matter.
As we've learned through this pivotal time, I know my experience is not yours. With that said, we are doing our part in educating ourselves on the experience of a system that does not treat Black, Indigenous, and people of color equally. Most importantly, understanding our role in dismantling this cycle means being willing to take on uncomfortable conversation with humility.
So that's why we encourage an open dialogue and we invite you, the listeners, to contribute your knowledge and insight to enrich this discussion. It's time to listen more and to say less. And as I heard one of our team members say, with kindness and support for one another, we can make a difference.
Thank you, Emmanuel. That was beautiful.
Thank you, Yasmin. All right, so welcome to Design Conversations. This is presented to you by Home Publishings Group and My Design Studio. It's hosted by Yasmin and myself, Emmanuel. So today, Yasmin is coming to you live from the offices of My Design Studio, and me, well, I'm here in my home office. So this is episode 2 in a 6-part series on the impact of COVID-19 and the design industry. So Yasmin, episode 2, you excited?
I am. I've got butterflies.
Episode 1's long behind us, and now we're into 2.
Sorry, guys. Hold on. We have slight technical difficulty.
Okay.
For some reason.
All right.
Your video is not showing. Sorry, don't know why.
Who's is it?
No. Sorry. Nobody's video for some reason is actually showing.
So we have
see
to
you
start
guys.
over?
No, I just don't know what's going on actually.
If people could post into the message board, the chat board, can they hear us?
They can hear you. They
Okay,
just
great.
I don't know. Your videos are on. And you are recording.
Okay.
It is just not. It is broadcasting. I just do not see. Oh, it says keep going. They can see you.
Okay, they can see us?
Going.
Great.
Sorry.
Yay!
Well, COVID-19, everything's uncertain these days, right? Even posting a webinar and putting things together, things can be uncertain. Well, there you go. All right. So with that level of uncertainty, how did we get here, Yasmin? I think that some people who may have joined us in the first episode know, but for those who are joining us for the first time here right now, how did this whole thing happen?
Well, we had planned to do a series of 6 events at our showroom as we work with a lot of builders, and we're an excellent resource partner for our builder trades. And we wanted to expose that and have a more experienced effect in the small meetings. And then in the process of planning this, the COVID hit, as one of my colleagues calls it, the COVID. And so after we came out of our zombie state, we decided, okay, why not take it online like many other people are doing it online, and meeting our clients online, our builders online and homeowners online turned out to be pretty effective. And we thought, okay, hey, let's do this and make it relevant to what people are living with and are being challenged with right now. So that's how we got here. Yeah, and thank you for jumping on board with us.
Well, absolutely, my pleasure. This is actually a fantastic. It's a fun experience for sure. I think that being able to keep this series going is an important thing actually for all the designers and people out there interested in this industry. So, how was your week? What's been going on the last couple of weeks? Anything that you'd want to do but couldn't do because of COVID?
Well, I did a lot of gardening. Lots of gardening, and then 10 hours of gardening on Saturday, and then that was it. I was done. And I looked at the garden and I said, good enough. let's move on.
Let's move on. Yeah. You
Yeah,
know,
but it
I
was
was
a good
talking.
week. It was a
I
good
was
week.
talking. No, I get that. I was talking with one of my with one of our suppliers there, one of our projects, and one of our clients was pushing through. And now that they've been lifting restrictions, one of the projects we're working on, they finally open it up, so people are rushing to get in there and get work done. And I'm not sure if you're experiencing this, but you know there are limitations. We're allowed 2 people working in the unit at a time.
Oh,
So you can
yes,
imagine how slow things are moving in there right now.
very slow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then another project working on, you know, as COVID was happening, people were trying to get things done, move things forward. And we had prepped some slabs for a client. And unfortunately, some slabs had some markings on them that came from manufacturing. And
Oh, no.
yeah, our
That's
fabricator was like,
disappointing.
okay, I know, let's move through. They signed things off right away. Unfortunately, we accepted slabs that had marks on them. They're installed on the wall now. And unfortunately, those marks may not come out. So it's amazing that, you know, such a great fabricator to keep his word when he said that when I accept something, I take responsibility for it. And despite all this going on, he's taken responsibility. So, you know, this could easily be a $14,000 piece from a take, which is something else.
Wow.
So it's nice to see that
That's
trades
very
are,
cool.
despite everything that's going on, you know, trades have integrity and keeping their word on that kind of stuff. So it's great.
That's great. That's nice to hear.
Right.
There are good guys out there.
Yeah, there's lots. And speaking of good guys,
Yeah.
we've got a pretty good set of panelists today coming to join us.
Yes.
I
And
think we do.
with the topic of the, you know, having tools and technology that assist us in living with what's going on all around us right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm happy to introduce, yes?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's bring them on out.
Yeah,
Come
let's
on.
do it.
I think
Let's
they're
bring
ready.
them on out. Yeah, they're ready. They're
Oh,
ready. Yes.
well,
So
I see Glenn Peloso. So Glenn Peloso is
yeah.
you want to go ahead and introduce him.
Okay, Glenn Pelosos, thank you for joining us today. Glenn is the creative and principal of Grapha Studio and is a celebrated designer, TV host. Glenn is also recognized as a design expert on the Marilyn Dennis Show, and from his past work as host designer of an internationally popular HGTV show, Restaurant Makeover, Take This House, Sell It, and many more. So it's terrific to have you with us today, Glenn. Thank you.
And here we have Janice. And here we have Janice Fedek, designer, trend researcher, and speaker, active member of the acclaimed color marketing group. Janice shares innovative, inspiring color design concepts based on the influences that are in the emerging worldwide. So good to have you, Janice.
Happy to be here.
Good, good, good. And we have Evelyn.
And hi, Evelyn.
Hello.
Hello. So Evelyn Ashon is an award-winning, too many papers on my desk, I'm afraid.
That's okay.
Evelyn Ashon is, and I helped you with that too, is an award-winning designer who provides a complete interior design and decorating services for mid to high-end residential projects, from concept to build throughout the GTA and beyond. Evelyn is a regular contributor to local and national publications, as well as video information segments, focusing on doing what she does best, bringing innovative design solutions to each custom project. And I do appreciate your work very much. Thank you for being here.
Well, welcome everybody. Good to have you all here.
It's good to be here. Well, it's good to be here versus there, which would be one of the, I mean, in fact, we could sort of say that one of the great things that what products in terms of COVID or the coronavirus is the internet. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to do any of the things that we're doing, staying in touch with parents and friends and family and all those kind of things. I did laugh at a friend of mine recently said that he wasn't sure whether or not he was going to be able to go back to hard pants. And I went, what are hard pants?
What?
He's like, you know, not track pants and not Lululemons, you know, things with a seam. They're hard pants.
Things with a zipper.
I think it's funny.
So I think the sale of, you know, soft pants has gone way up.
I think I'm with them on that. Anyways, yeah, no, it's great to see you guys. Glenn, nice to see you again. And Janice, we always see each other at networking events and all that, and haven't seen anyone in a while. So it's nice to see everyone.
That's the hard part.
Yeah.
That's the hard part. We're used to collaborating and kibitzing everywhere that we go. And thank goodness for kibitzing. Thank goodness for Zoom. It's allowed us to stay connected, but also stay connected with our clients. The traditional consultation is literally being on lockdown, and we've zoomed into their homes on the new platform. So it's been good.
Mm-hmm.
It has been great. So what kind of fun stuff have you guys been up to as far as dealing with design in the industry right now?
Glenn?
Well, I've had a bunch of projects that are full construction. So there's nobody lives there. The house is in the middle of being constructed. It's I'm still sort of doing everything that I was doing to some degree. It's a little bit odd because sometimes you get on site and the carpenter's like, "Hey, how are you?" And he sticks his hand out. You're like, "We're not doing that now." And because it doesn't, I guess for a lot of those people who have been considered essential services, they haven't really changed their life much. So it's hard. They're like, "Oh yeah, I forgot." And for the rest of us, it seems like a really non-stop process. I find it. I mean, there are some things where someone said, "Well, I could send you some pictures of fabrics for sofas," and I'm like, "Can't really pick a fabric for a sofa on a picture." And it can be cumbersome, I think, for some of those suppliers because you sort of select online 5 or 10 or 15 fabrics that you think might work, but you can't really tell until you get them, and then they send them to you, and you sort of work like that. So it seems like a protracted process. Like it seems really, really long. I remember, like as an example, that I was talking to this woman who oddly was deaf, dumb, and blind, and we were talking about finger spelling and what it was like for Helen Keller. And I know that seems like a big switch, but she said, imagine having to spend your whole life where your whole conversation was HI space, HOW space, ARE space, YOU space, and how long it would take just to say, "Hi, how are you?" Which for us, and so it feels a little bit like that. It's like, oh my gosh, there's 100 more steps to getting anything done now.
Yeah. For me, I got to say, so I've always been, for years, whenever I went into a showroom, I always took pictures. I would take 2 pictures. One of, let's say, the fabric, or let's say tiles. I would take a picture of a tile and then take a picture of the code. Tile code, tile code, tile code of whatever was the new thing. And I have a massive catalog on my computer with all of those. And I just always did that. I've been doing that for years. Like it just, for me, it was a second nature thing. And the interesting thing is that all came so useful lately because I'm doing a complete house and showrooms were closed and, or just didn't want to go there, but essentially they were closed. And I had my whole catalog on my computer. So we did the tiles directly from that because I was recently there back in January and I had a current catalog. So just, certain habits, I think we're going to learn new habits, new ways of doing things. But I got to say, that's one thing that I did that I'm thankful for, that I always did. And it finally paid off.
And to add to that, and Evelyn, just so you know, Evelyn's actually launching a new catalog for all of us to use, just FYI.
There you go. All categorized.
Perfect.
I do the same, Evelyn. Thank goodness for the cell phones, and I've got the same sort of thing. So I tapped into that. Something that I started doing some time ago was creating a presentation electronically anyways that I could send to my clients that we could share together. So now what we're doing is we're zooming through the meeting and pulling up the screen where we can take a look at all of the images of the materials and finishes that I've selected. And if possible, I've had my suppliers send samples ahead of time because they're working at a skeletal staff. And then they send one to me, send one to them. So we're both touching and feeling the samples at the same time and being able to make sound decisions on how to move forward. But it has slowed down.
Yeah,
The process
I think
is
moving
slower.
forward, we're all gonna adapt to a new way.
Mhm.
You have to. You have to. The ones of us that'll adapt will still be standing for sure.
Right. Yeah, no,
So,
I think that you end up creating a new process, and to that story that I was telling, what she would do, because all I could do was type small words into her hand. When she got the word, she just pushed my hand away. Just, I got it. I understand. I understand. So it started to, I get like, oh, we've developed a new process whereby I'm like H, and then she's like, hi, it's hi, how are you? I got that whole thing.
Yeah.
Next time, fine. And so you just create a new process and a new way of communicating with your clients, new way of communicating creatively, and so you end up with something new. And I think that in as much as it feels awkward, like you're like, this is, I don't
New.
and to me, it's like I can't go to the gym.
Mhm.
Okay, so I guess to the basement. I don't know. Like if you're irritated until you create a new process, and in some
Yeah.
ways, that new process is better. I love the fact that my morning commute is like if I have a meeting at 9 o'clock, I have to be up by 8:55 if I'm going to make it. When did I get to do that before, right? Like now things are you can the time that you save is also something to be
Yeah,
celebrated. You don't
And gas
take as
money.
long.
Mhm.
Yes,
For
and
sure.
hard
For
for
sure.
pay.
I
sure.
turned.
For sure, the technology, which even 6 months ago felt a little alien for many people, including us,
Mhm.
now is become sort of like a second. You don't even think about it. You just do
Yes.
it.
True.
And in fact, now when I'm booking appointments, I am giving the person the option, would you like a video or would you like a phone call? Because before it was just a phone call,
Mhm.
but it wasn't a face call, or a video call. And now that technology has emerged and been adopted very quickly by all age groups.
Mhm.
So,
Really
so,
has.
uh, so now I think that's also opened up the spectrum of inside the home. Now that people have been in it for all these months, to really see what's working in their home, what isn't. And with the addition of the additional technology, they're perhaps looking for other products, other ideas, other ways to use their homes that could even be more efficient in this very unusual time that we're now adopting as part of our, I hate to use the word new normal, but
Mhm.
as part of
No, for sure.
what it's going to be like moving forward.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
all,
I
and
think
all
that
of a
there's
sudden too, people. I
but
was going to say,
go.
all of a sudden now, people are realizing that their homes can be more than what they were previously,
Mm-hmm.
because they too have adapted to working from home, schooling from home, taking classes and teaching classes from home, and sharing spaces unlike before. I have a lot of clients that said our house was kind of like a revolving door. Make my bedrooms really nice and the kitchen functional because we eat and we sleep and the rest
Mhm.
is done outside. But now all of a sudden everybody's at home, and it's how can we create a good work environment? How can we create a quiet place of solitude? How can we keep it clean? There's so many different things to consider in this, like you said, new normal.
Mm-hmm.
What's
That's right.
interesting is we are talking about, in this episode about how, technology impacts the home. Um, is it important for homes to be more connected now, as far as technology is concerned, do you think?
I think
It
so,
seems to me,
definitely.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
go
and
ahead.
I definitely noticed a difference. I've recently changed providers. I won't say who I was with,
Yeah.
and who there are basically two. I switched from one to the other, and I'm telling you, what a difference. Like,
Mhm.
what a difference in just functionality and making it simple. Um, even just new hardware and software and all of that. And I think even stuff like downloading Zoom on my iPad and this webcam thing, and buying a new ring light and all this stuff. I mean, I thought those ring lights were just for the makeup girls. I don't do makeup YouTube videos. Come on. But now here it is. I just bought a ring light. So I think moving
Congrats.
forward, Thank you. It's very important. And not only that, but our spaces. For instance, I just got an email yesterday from one of my suppliers, and it was so timely considering we're doing this today. And it was about wallpaper for the home or commercial, but residential, which is acoustic, so sound absorption, and it looks fantastic. So imagine if you're doing a home office, wouldn't it be appropriate to put that kind of wallpaper in your space? To deaden the sound, if you add a rug, obviously, or any curtains or drapes. So those things make a space not only look great, but they actually function for you. And they're high functioning, nurturing environments, which make you feel good when you go in there. And they help you be productive and not feel like you're apologizing to anyone from working from home.
Right.
That's terrific.
I'm dealing with the same thing. I've got a project where we're looking at what was in the past looked upon as the commercial type of wall covering because of those properties, and now we're putting them into homes. So there is a greater sort of crossing over of where do we use these products.
I think that's a big thing. I think a lot of hospitality products and materials will swing over to residential. I've always wondered why they didn't more. For instance, when you go into a hotel room, I've been in some really nice hotels where, you know, you lie in the bed and you just push a button and the blinds open, or frankly, you can even turn your shower on, like things like that, right? So wellness in the home, where I think moving forward, people will feel more like the home, they will be more willing to invest in making their home the most nurturing space that gives them a sense of wellness. You know, when, you know, mental health has been such a conversation lately, it really has. And I think moving forward, it's going to be even more. But making your home provide you wellness, I think, is going to be even more important moving forward, using materials, products, services, all of that stuff.
And know what else is going to help with that is technology. Technology in the past, you know, it was kind of like I have to send an email or I have to connect my TV or I need my Wi-Fi. But I think now technology is taking on another role where it's going to simplify our lives so that we can be out there in our yards, in nature, doing things that make us feel good, giving us more time to do the things that will enhance health and wellness. And it'll just become, I don't think it'll be as frightening, because, you know, think of different generations where like, oh no, I don't want to go into all that techie stuff. But I think it's all about simplifying our lives so that we can enjoy all of the things that we have refound in our homes.
Evelyn, you mentioned commercial or hospitality products coming into residential products. Are there any specific things you can think of that works in a hospitality setting that could work in a residential setting?
Yeah, I think one of the key things is definitely, I think in hospitality and commercial, you see more touchless opportunities, whether it's doors, faucets, blinds, like I mentioned, just moving forward, the whole germ thing.
Toilets as well.
Toilets. I've been in a hotel where you literally just had to wave your hand and the toilet came on. I mean, it was actually in Hong Kong, which is very, very progressive city, and really, really great hotel. And it was just fascinating to be able to walk through, and the lights came on without even touching. So I know that we can do that with, you know, the doors that you open and the light comes on. But I think moving forward, we may have it more normal to install light fixtures, for instance, that just come on. First of all, it saves energy, obviously. You walk in, they come on, you walk out, they turn off, and you can certainly program them. But I see more touchless, which is more available in commercial and hospitality than residential. But I see that moving forward.
What's interesting is that you often see the touchless, or perhaps you see the touchless in kitchen faucets.
Yes.
Typically not the, you know, higher end lines carry them. Typically that's the lines that are, you know, readily available at most stores carry that sort of thing. Do you think that technology will move its way into some of the higher end lines?
For
I mean, I
sure.
think that it's going to have to. We're sort of in this place where, I mean, I think interestingly that, things like Eve, which is a product that is a home-based product, which allows you to do all of those, like allows you to retrofit all of the elements that Evelyn was just talking about. So now if I want it to sense me coming into the room, it will turn on the lights that I have pre-decided I want to come on. So if I enter this room, please turn on just the LED strip light that's underneath the vanity and turn it off as I leave. So I don't have to program that anymore. We have Nest, we have a bunch of like the washlets, the toilets that pre-washes the toilet before you get in. It allows you to not use toilet paper if you don't want to. All of the things that you can do from your phone. You can answer the door, you can ring the doorbell, you can start your car, you can, the faucets in your bathroom that you no longer need to touch. And I think as we're still in this time of COVID, it matters that as people come over, they're like, oh, I don't want to use your bathroom. I'm like, we don't have to touch anything. The toilet will wash you. You don't have to touch anything. The faucet will come on and you can put your hand under there and the soap will come out, and you don't need to touch anything. If you don't want to, use a towel. If you want to, if you don't, that's also fine. And I think as we work through this, it makes a big difference. All of those things, interestingly enough, can connect into something as the one that I know best is Lutron has a system which is just a hub, and for the longest time people thought that this was going to be something that was going to be thousands. Like in the past, I remember if I was going to do a home automated system, I'd guess $15,000 to $20,000 to connect everything, and there'd be a big tower in the basement that it made it all, and somebody came in once a year and reprogrammed it for $1,000, whatever it was, because one of the kids played with it or whatever. Now it's a couple of $100, and all of those things are connected into one space. Your sound, so now, and what what is interesting to me as well, and this happened recently. So as my parents aged and then passed away, I remember having this conversation with my mom, and I'm like, because we got her, one of the buttons that you push if you one of those. Well, I can't remember what they're called, but there's something, and you had to be at a program, and she had to wear a thing on her wrist around her neck, and every time I came home, it wasn't on, ever. Like, do you wear that thing ever? It's like, oh, of course I do, but I knew you were coming home, and so if you were coming home, I didn't feel the need to put it on because I knew you were coming. I went, oh, okay, where is it? She's like, well, I'm sure. I'm like, you don't wear it, and that's okay. And we sort of joked about that, and then she said, how do you think it feels to get up every morning and put on something that tells you that you're old and incapable? And it sort of broke my heart. I went, oh, that's awful. That's an awful thought. So I got her, and you can do it like Google it. What I got, it was Alexa, but you can do it with Google. You can do it anything, and it connects to your phone. And I'm like, so if you have a problem, you can just say, Alexa, call Glenn or call one of my other siblings, and my phone will ring. If you don't answer the phone, and I know that you've called me and didn't answer the phone, something's wrong. You can also call your next door neighbor. But then there's also, because she was a little bit more arthritic, there was the element of, you don't have to go and change the temperature. You can just say, Alexa, set the room temperature to, 20 or 18 or whatever you want. Put the lights on, put them off, turn the music on, turn the television up, turn it off, turn the lights up, turn the lights down, lock the house, secure the house, answer the front door. So all of those things that are also COVID related, because we're able to not have to touch things, which is sort of one of the issues, are also really, they're great in terms of aging in place. And I also think, there is a really interesting kind of cool factor where you just get to come in the house and, you're coming in with friends and you're like, show me party, and the lights come down, the music goes up, and and there's kind of the blinds come down. Like you can create scenes with the whole house, which is part of having that fully connected home, which I think is really going to help us in the short term. But it has lots of, that no longer is it just like it's really expensive and I'm doing it to be cool. I'm doing it to help everybody in the house and to help keep the house clean. Added to those products like the sound absorbing products that make it easier to have a place like that, and then doing on top of that a web of internet through your whole house, so that you've got extenders, so that you don't have a call with one of your clients, as Janice was saying, and you're dipping out, or they can't hear you, or you can't show things. And so I think that there are all of those products that have been available, but always seem like, you know, and me being one of them, I was always like, you know, if you need a faucet in your own bathroom upstairs that you can't touch, you either need to get cleaner or you need a cleaning lady. But if you can't touch your own faucets in your own home,
Sure.
something wrong with you. Now I'm like, oh, I get it now, because there is a new kind of worry.
But you know what? That reminds me of something I was talking to Yasmin about, actually. So I've been to Italy multiple times, and in Europe, it was always natural and normal to walk into a washroom where you never actually touched the faucet. It was always a foot pedal thing. And I'm surprised that we don't have more of that here. I think restaurants and bars will start, you know, pivoting into that department. Frankly, in Italy, women and men share a washroom, and everything is normal there. So they're a little bit more open-minded, not as you know, stodgy.
Well, you don't
as
share
we
a washroom. You get your own stall.
No, yeah, you know what I mean. But the fact that you don't actually have to open a faucet, you just push, you know, with your foot, and there it is. And I know some washrooms in Toronto do have that. But I think moving forward, there will be more of this technology, and just all sorts of stuff, even lighting. I mean, I think lighting is a huge part of wellness, and I think there will be more kind of focus on home design and what kind of lighting, because I know, I mean, I've been in the business for over 20 years, and lighting was the last thing on the budget. And I'm actually now finding that it's not at the top, it should be, but it's getting close to the top, because you should spend so much money on lighting in order to make your home, you know, the whole circadian rhythm, you know, if you're like your inner body clock, I think makes a difference. So now we're all working from home, or a lot of us are working from home. Do we get up earlier? Do we get up later? I mean, we're in June now. It gets light at 5 a.m. Do we close the blinds? Do we open the blinds? What kind of light is coming into your home? When you're in your home office, what's the temperature of the light? Is it 2,700? Is it 3,000? Is it 4,000? Is it, what is it? And I think, so I'm going to throw it out there. It's important to hire a professional to obviously advise you, but certainly, you know, getting an education to understand what kind of lighting should be in the house. And like Glenn said, you know, you walk into a room, it comes on. Does it come on full blast, all your 20 pop lights? Or is it at a level, right? Like Glenn said, maybe it's in party mode. So those are the things I think, now that people are at home more and living in their spaces, they're, I think, going to appreciate more home, first of all, because it should be a safe place. It really should be. I've always felt when you walk and you open your door, you should exhale, because you're home. You shouldn't be stressed. And there are things about your home that can give you that feeling. And it's so many elements, whether it's lighting, music playing, plants. I think plants are going to play a big role. I call me crazy, but I really think people are going to get more into plants, like actual bringing greenery into the home. I went to a garden center recently. I love gardening. I always have since I was 5 years old. I had my own garden, and I couldn't find anything. And I realized, oh my God, more people are jumping on this gardening thing. I think they're wanting to be self-sufficient. But I think moving forward in this whole COVID thing, I think self-sufficiency is going to be a theme here, where humans, people, will want to be more self-sufficient, if that makes any sense, right? Thinking ahead more and planning.
I think so. You know, I want to jump into Janice on something.
Agree.
Janice had a question for you. We've been talking about, you know, the digital aspect of being, you know, hyper on the technology side of things, having things automated, and then Evelyn, you brought up a great point about how we were just using levers to actually turn water on. We didn't need some fancy sensor to turn water on. We use a lever with our foot and turn water on. So now we're going a bit on the just dumbing it down a little bit. So Janice, we talk about lighting, we talk about color. You're an expert in color. What's the impact of the color in our space, especially when we are spending that 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 hours a day now actually working and living in the space? Tell us a little more about where color is going to go.
It's actually the number one question people always ask us. Yeah.
Well, and it's the first thing people ask me when I come in for a consultation. The first thing they say is, what colors are we going to do? And, or what color, what's the in color? Or what is the color? And you know what? There isn't a specific color. There's really no right or wrong when it comes to color, because color is so personal. And I think it's so important to wrap your home in colors that speak to you. Evelyn made a point that, you know, when you come home, you should breathe a sigh of relief. It should envelop you with an extension of who you are, so you feel good in your own space. Now, we always have color trends, right, guys? But I think those color trends are a guideline. And if you look at what those color trends are, they're more directional as opposed to specific. And if you look at all of them, there is something for everyone. So in saying that, think about the way color has the power to make you feel. For example, blues are known to be a trustworthy color. A brighter blue is a little bit more invigorating, sort of evokes a sense of not just trust, but let's get it done kind of mentality. But then soften it down to a soft ethereal type of blue. Suddenly that blue is the color of the sky, color of the sea, and it becomes a really calming blue. So let's think of that space that you want to have, you know, mindful thoughts or calming, your washroom, your bedroom. That might be a really great color for there. A color that might not be so great for calming in a bedroom might be red. Red has that ability to, it can actually increase your blood pressure, believe it or not. It can increase your appetite too.
Now
So it's
You know what?
understand
Can
why.
I just tell you a really cool story? So in university, so I went to Ryerson. We had a field trip to the Art Gallery of Ontario. There was a red painting, Janice, red, like Emmanuel's shirt there. Red with some brushstrokes and such. It was big. It was probably 6 feet by 6 feet on a white wall. And there was an experiment. You had to walk towards it, and you had to be cognizant of whether you felt heat. And you know what? I felt heat. It was magical. When you walked away, like crazy.
Well, you know what I always think of, but quite often when I go into a client's home, they'll say, "Oh, my friend or my sister had this really great color. I really want to put it into my place." And then we bring in the color, and it's like, "Well, that's not the right color." And you said something that, Evelyn, that is key, is the lighting. So it's not just the color, but it's the color in combination with the lighting. So it's not just your whatever light fixture or the temperature of light. You know, is it 2700 or is it 3,000, 5,000? It's your exposure. Which direction is the window facing? How big is the window? How big is the room? Is the color going to be reflecting off itself?
Janice, you have brought up a very interesting conversation that we had, you know, when we were talking about the episode, that colors also sometimes trend with economic and or technology. And you were sharing with us that the color gray, which was really popular for quite a while, and it still is to some degree, was sort of wrapped up with the whole technology. But now, as people are staying home and they're looking for something more organic, more real, that they're now blending some of those more organic tones with the gray. Can you share that 100%. A bit more? Because
Absolutely.
a lot of us probably have gray behind us.
Well, do you know what? Gray really took over. Do you remember when, what was it? It was espresso. Remember when espresso was like the neutral, and then espresso took a back seat?
God, it stopped.
Honestly. But it was replaced by gray. And at the beginning, grays were very steely, very blue undertoned. And that's when technology really took a forefront. So technology cast a light on the gray, kept it very blue, very clinical, very, I don't know, not warm. But what's happening now, and I think I made mention, is technology is now allowing us to simplify our lives and make our lives more comfortable. So what's happening is that gray is now shifting, and we're infusing an element of optimism and happiness into the gray, which is yellow. and you'll see that grays are slowly shifting to become more warm. They're not quite taupe, but if you look closely at them, you can see that undertone to them. And that's
So
part
sort
of that whole
blend of wheat and hay and
absolutely. And it's that taking us outside. Evelyn made a comment that you like gardening. Gardening is like one of the biggest trends right now. In fact, when I went to my garden center, I thought I got there pretty early, and I was like, where is everything? And she said that they had sold their year's worth of orders in 2 weeks. Because everybody's bringing it into their backyard or their balcony. They're not just leaving it for a traditional garden. They're just going to grow their own things. So those colors are coming into colors in our home too.
Okay, amazing.
I was actually, I was actually, just a quick point on that, the whole gardening thing. I was reading an article that basically said that, I mean, I know a lot of us, a lot of our clients spend a lot of money on their outdoor spaces and indoor, outdoor, especially in Canada, we enjoy it for a short period of time. But moving forward, the article predicted that people will do more of that. Windows will get bigger, plants will come in, materials will be more natural, because as humans, no matter how much technology we have, our natural inclination is to feel like traditional design, comfort, and things that are, you know, textural and soft and that you can sit on, and not hard steel and shiny black and all of that sort of stuff. It's good in little bits and pieces, and frankly good to look at, but not to live in. So yeah, you're absolutely right with that. That's cool.
And you know what, Evelyn, I think that's really important.
Guys, let's just share some more information and facts with our guests who are listening in. So let's say I'm going to go be painting my house, and it's a high traffic area, and I need to paint it. What quality of paint should we consider? Something that's strong and washable, obviously. And is there, Janice, do you want to talk about that? And maybe just quickly give us, like, for bathrooms, choose this, for hallways, do that, for high traffic, for trim, you know, and what are the trends and the types of things that people should look for when they're going out to buy their paint?
Evelyn, before you answer that question,
I want to do is,
sorry, I was going to say, before you answer that question, I just want Yasmin to throw a quick word from our sponsors so we can get that done, and then we'll come back to your question, okay?
Awesome.
Perfect.
Well, we just want to say thank you to our 4 terrific sponsors, Lixil, Kentwood, Costantino, and Fisher and Paykel. And Lixil distributes American Standard, DXV, and Growy, and Frankie, and Max, actually quite a few products out there. And without their sponsorship, we wouldn't be able to do that. And with the HPG as our terrific partners. So thank you, sponsors and HPG.
All right,
just not to interrupt you, but to add a little bit to that, Yasmin, Cosentino, which does Sailstone, which is one of the very few products, just from a not a touchy-feely point of view, but from a practical point of view, that it's an antimicrobial is built into the countertops. And I think, you know, in this particular time, and as there's going to be more and more viruses or not, people are going to become conscious of surfaces and how those surfaces transmit germs and how those things are going to.
Very much so.
Right.
That's right.
There's even like we're getting rid of the board when it comes to the charcuterie board, and it's just going right on the counter if it's got that property.
Yeah,
for sure.
Costantino have a terrific product called Decton as well. And Decton is a very dense porcelain material that can be used as exterior cladding and can also be used for counters or tables for outside. You can put fire on it, you can put ice on it. It's basically indestructible.
Well, I saw a demonstration where literally like nail polish was put on there, nail polish remover, set on fire, and then they cleaned it. It was fantastic.
and then rolled out the dough right on it, right?
Yeah.
Now, was that because people weren't able to go and get a manicure pedicure? They did it right there and it set on fire? Or
you know, it was all women.
Yeah, let's let Janice get to her answer, guys. Come on, let's let Janice answer that question. All right.
Well, first thing I'm going to bring up is people always think bathrooms need to be in a semi-gloss or something that's shiny. It does not. paint has changed so much, and now there's actually a flat paint that is specifically formulated for high moisture areas. Mm-hmm. And something that we have to remember, if our walls are not particularly smooth, or if there's a little bit of indiscretion in the wall, the flatter the paint, the less it shows any of those indiscretions. Oh, so you don't want to be putting, you don't want to be putting anything too glossy. In fact, I don't specify high gloss on anything. My go-to trim finish is a satin. Do you like high gloss, Glenn?
No, I'm just saying that if you could speak to who, while you're doing color consultations, if you could just ask them to the semi-gloss and the high gloss, could they just get rid of them so people don't accidentally use them? Like, I'm like, unless you own a piano, you don't need that.
No, it's true. And just like for trim colors, we rarely use a bright screaming white. There's thousands of shades of white that we use to, be the unifying thread throughout a home, making sure it blends with every other color of every other room that it's attached to. But back to paints, there's also paints that have been certified for asthma and allergy, low emissions, or zero VOC. And that's huge right now. We're in our homes more than ever. And, when that's this very important. COVID, when COVID came, we did not have windows open at the time, and we are stuck in our homes. So I think it's important, one, to, what's the best way of adding a new impact to your home? A fresh coat of paint. But do I want to be smelling fumes? No. Right. So the beauty of it now is there is zero VOC or low VOC, and there's government regulations that need to be followed. But also, you want to paint that.
Can you paint that on top of existing paint? Can you use that zero without?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And prime, or can you just paint right on top of it?
Well, I mean, there's a couple things that you have to look at. Anything that's shiny needs to be roughed up a little bit so that it grips to it, or you need to have that layer of primer in between. Basically, the primer sticks to what was and allows what's coming to stick to it. But the other thing when I think you asked, like, what's a good durable paint, you want to find something that the binder and the pigment are fully encapsulated, so it's washable. So you can buy a washable flat. You could never do that before. Anytime you wiped around a light switch, it shined up. Remember that happening?
Yeah.
Now that doesn't happen. So you've got a flat paint that's washable, zero VOC, and no smell, dry to a touch in an hour. So you can basically disassemble your home in the morning, paint it in the afternoon, and put it back together in the evening, and you've got your new color that makes you feel good.
Oh my God, you make it sound so easy.
I hate painting, FYI. Yeah. So Evelyn, I know a lot of people who are thinking about doing some renovations now because they're maybe living with multiple generations, or they are spending more time at home and sharing those spaces. And let's say if I was going to be redoing my bathroom, what are maybe 3 things that I should have in mind, that I should focus on, that would help me make it more sanitized, easier to use for everyone? And we mentioned a bit of that technology that's out there.
Well, one of the key things for sure, I think, oh shoot, my battery's running low, people. That's not good. I think that, first of all, the whole living in place thing where, bathrooms should be accessible. I think that's one thing to definitely consider. I certainly in most of my projects don't use jams anymore. They're all just, you can just walk in. Curbless, exactly. Materials, like Glenn said, silestone is an antibacterial material. Most quartz are, and certainly I use typically the Cosentino product in my projects. I love it. The colors are true. It's fantastic. Touchless, definitely. And all the companies now that provide faucets, and you can buy Canadian, they don't have to be imports. I'm just saying, like, you can buy Canadian products that have all the colors that you could possibly want, and the efficiency and the water that comes through, certainly toilets that are efficient and all that. But even, you know, materials that you use as far as MDFs, I don't know if people know this, but there are different kinds of MDF. MDF has got a bad rap that it's got resins and glues that it off gases, but there are those, and then there are those. So I think it's about going to a reputable cabinet maker and getting a product made. Again, it all boils down to the wellness of a home, right? Like making a home comfortable, safe,
Right.
and non-allergenic as much as possible, if that's possible. But I think moving forward, this whole COVID thing, I can speak for myself, just makes you more aware of your world. You know, I certainly appreciate, I mean, my partner and I, Troy, we lived in an apartment for a little while, and then I lived in a condo downtown before. I am so thankful that I'm in a home with a little backyard and I have my garden.
Right.
I'm just so thankful. And I think moving forward, all of the things that it takes to make a home well and to make the home feed you as a person and your soul is going to do it, whether it's fabrics, materials. I mean, even fabrics now, I just specified some fabrics for a home, and I looked at the ingredients of the fabric. You know, what kind of fabric is it?
That's a good point.
Is it
We don't
flame
always think
retardant?
about that.
Exactly. Is it flame retardant? Because most commercial, all commercial products have to have a certain flame retardant, and that's where, again, the commercial hospitality with residential gets blended. I think more people will be looking for that because they'll be more aware of the fact that, hey, why shouldn't my home be as safe as a restaurant?
Right.
You know,
Guys,
like,
we're starting to run. Our hour is almost up, and I think Emmanuel, you wanted to, yes.
Yeah, you know what? Time really flies, right? You know,
lots of
you
information.
talk about stuff, and it just flies. So we do a rapid round of questions, and the idea here is just to ask a quick question, give quick point blank answers.
Okay.
We also have, while we're doing this, we've asked the people participating are able to actually submit questions as we're going along. So potentially there's some questions, a list of questions that we may want to have the participants ask, and we'll address them to you. But let's fire through this quick round. We got 7 questions. We're gonna go as quick as you can, and then we'll jump into participant questions. And then we've got about 6 minutes to knock all that out. And then if you have more time, then we can keep going. If not, thank you. But here we go. All right. So we're talking about touchless stuff. Is touchless too impersonal for the home?
Very quick, guys.
No.
Impersonal?
No.
Impersonal.
No. For me,
my initial reaction is it is.
I think it's a necessity.
I think that we like to touch things. We're in our house, we like to touch things. But I do think that given where we are now, practically we can't. That's not smart.
Right.
Yeah, with little kids, with older people, it's easy, and you don't have to worry about remembering whether you turn the faucet off or on.
Correct.
Well, and not only that, I think about now when I come in, I want to wash.
Yeah.
Like I want to wash my hands and get wherever I was off my hands, but I don't want to touch the faucets when I come in and then have to sanitize the faucets, right?
Uh-oh, we lost Emmanuel.
Uh-oh.
And again, Emmanuel, one more time.
Emmanuel has the rapid questions.
He's on the space station.
Okay. What color would you want to be quarantined with? If you could be quarantined with a color, what would that be?
Oh.
Yellow.
Yellow. Okay. Glenn says yellow.
I'm
okay.
You know, I love color, but I think to live in, I think a soft, creamy, grayish color for me would be good. Yeah.
Like
I would
vanilla frosting.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Janice.
I would like a soft, creamy gray with just a hint of a warm blue. And I know it sounds funny, but blues can have a little bit of yellow in them, you know, almost shifting to lavender. Very peaceful.
Oh, nice. Lovely.
Wow,
lovely.
that sounds nice.
Can you give us the
question
color for that?
I can give you a color number for that.
All right, number 3. What piece of furniture? What piece of furniture are you updating or getting rid of as a result of its form over function during your time in quarantine?
Basement sofa, previously leather, not comfortable. We're home and we're spending more time. Sofa's going out, being donated to a very good cause, and we're bringing in a beautiful sectional that's warm and cozy and feather-filled seats that we can just sink into and
yes.
relax.
Very nice.
I think we're doing the same thing too. Yeah.
Well,
Office chairs. I think you have to get rid of
not
office chairs
I'm
because-
replacing with a spin bike. I decided, since I can't go to the gym and I really need to get moving, I ordered a spin bike. It's coming on Friday, and I'm getting rid of, well, my parents are going to hang on to a beautiful, beautiful slipper chair that I have because I need that space.
All right.
Okay,
Glenn.
good solution.
I think that, and I think that it's practical in this time as well. Just on a practical note, but everybody's at home and working from home, and everybody's working on their dining chair, and you can't sit on your dining chair for 8 hours a day. So I think it's really important, even if your office space turns into being, you know, the island, you need to find an office chair that supports you properly, even if you put it in the closet when you're done, but you need that now. Not kind of like it, need it.
Absolutely.
Okay, this is a technology snob question. Google Home, Siri, or Alexa?
I'm sorry, well, Alexa, just because that's what I have.
I don't have it, so I can't say.
Well, I have
Neither.
Google Home.
Google Home.
I have Google Home, but I unplug it. Yep. And we have a Nest, and it's making life simpler for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Joelle, do you have any questions for us from our participants?
I do.
Awesome.
I do have some questions. All right. Sylvie would like to know, she says, we see glass everywhere now. What are your thoughts about incorporating more glass? Can you talk about that a little bit? So maybe like glass rails in the house or in general.
Yeah.
So I agree, and I do think that we are seeing it a lot. I feel like it's you know, way more than touchless faucets. I find it really impersonal. I think it's a way for people to, you know, have a sense of opening space, which and it is effective in that way. But it takes some of the beauty of a home or the structure of a home and makes it seem very impersonal. I sometimes feel like it's used a lot because it's simple. It's not. It sort of is nothing. It's like, oh, I put up a railing that doesn't exist, and you know, it's easy to make that choice because it has no aesthetic weight. It offers nothing to the room. It takes away nothing from the room. So it just becomes a nothing, a functional nothing. So I get that it's used a lot, and I think it's used a lot because it's simple, but I don't like it.
But you can add some
interesting
accessories, some interesting accessories such as bolts and hardware that, or if it is there's a handrail that could bring some old with the new. So I think there's ways to work it.
Yeah, to add to that,
Yeah,
I actually did a project a couple of years ago where, funny because it would be so appropriate now, but we had an open concept house, really interesting. And the client said she cooked food that was very fragrant. And she wanted a solution to separate her kitchen, but she didn't want to block it off. So we did barn doors and glass, and it solved the problem.
Nice.
Okay, great.
And you know what? The glass, just to add to that, glass came in because we had all these open concept spaces and we needed to create, like what you just said, Evelyn.
Partition.
But now with all of us sharing spaces, we're now closing up some of those open concepts to create a designated work area where the glass may not be the right thing right now, where we may want to actually have a wall.
Something more.
So I think glass is going to start transition out.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Any more questions, Joelle?
Yes. So our question from Shannon says, what is your theory of renovations that are not just aesthetics, but actually energy efficient as well? Are we leveraging energy advisors to upgrade your mechanical, ventilations, and materials used in the home to really make a healthy home and to make a wellness in your home?
So
absolutely. That's part of the initial.
That's a loaded
question. My point
question.
of view is essential,
for sure.
and I think that as people who work in the profession, as much as people, I mean, I think there are some people like you, Shannon, who think that it's important to have, to add all of those features. Some people are like, it's kind of a nice thing to do, but really, I love what's on page 17 of, Better House and Home, or, House Beautiful, or whatever. And even though you say, well, none of that is eco-friendly, that's sort of what they want. So I find that the right way is to just build it into the process so that it's already there and it's not really an opt-in for the client. And that way, in the end, you can say, oh, and by the way, all of the things that you've selected are, environmentally friendly. They're efficient in terms of the mechanics of the house, that not the sexy things, but the things that make your house, more cost effective. Selling it those ways is easier than getting people to have a feeling about the environment, which is a little bit more difficult than talking about how it saves money and its beauty and efficacy in the house.
Because it's everything that's behind the walls. Sometimes it's hard for people to justify the value of things that are behind the wall.
I love the conversation, and I
it's
want us to be able to keep on going, but I do want to address the fact that we are 4:02. So what I do want to say to everyone, so just hold the line. What I do want to say to everyone who's attended the webinar with us, thank you so much for joining us today. We just want to let you know that we have episodes coming up. June 19th will be live, and July 3rd we will be live as well. Stay tuned.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's the 23rd and the 7th.
23rd and the 7th. My apologies. It's the 23rd and the 7th. 23rd of June and the 7th of July. We will update you with a topic of conversation once we have those in place. So until then, thank you so much for joining us. You're more than welcome to stay on the line. We're going to keep chatting a bit longer and actually address some of these questions. So if you want to stay on for another 5-10 minutes, everybody, we'll continue. Does that work?
And just a special thank you to James Lopi, our production coordinator, to Joelle Goodwin, who's also our moderator, and saying those questions, to Annie Bogovic from the coordination of the HPG side, and to HPG and all our 4 terrific sponsors, Lixil, Fisher and Paykel, Metropolitan Floors, and Constantino. Thank you again. And yes, please stay on the line and we'll try to get to more of your questions.
All right, next question.
Amazing. So this question's for Janice, but I'm sure that everybody can chime in. What kind of paint do you recommend for high traffic areas?
For high traffic areas, I always want to use something that's got some sort of technology involved that makes it scrub resistant. I'm going to tell you a funny little story. High traffic area, there was an entrance way, and there was one spot on the wall that kept coming up with this shiny spot, like out of the blue, this shiny spot. And we couldn't figure out what it was. We thought there must have been a grease stain or something. Long story short, every time the client's doorbell rang, the dog ran to the front door, and as it's wagging its tail, it was brushing against the wall, and it burnished up and shined up this one spot on the wall. So I always think of that, because high traffic areas, hey, we're coming in, dropping backpacks. Can you believe that happened? You can see it.
That's amazing.
And one of my favorites is Aura, because the pigment is right inside the binder that holds that color to the wall. And I know I can rub against it, drop something against it, wipe it, wash it.
I've used it in bathrooms,
same as it did. It's amazing. It really is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you can pick whatever sheen level you like.
Joelle, anything else?
Yeah, one more question, and I actually think it's quite relevant for right now. Janice, you mentioned, and I think a lot of us have been mentioning about this idea that we're moving away from open concepts now, that there was all this work that we were doing to build all these open concept pieces, and now we're moving away from them. So Laura Lee's asking, will we move away from open concepts to potentially movable dividers?
Absolutely. There's so many different versions of dividing a space. You can even do it with furniture, where people are putting, high backed desks, creating a half, sort of a half divider. It all depends on need, right, within the space.
And the space you have.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, flex space is a big thing too, right?
So.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, and I'm doing a rental right now, and I think we've got 5 or 6 pocket doors in the whole house because they want, like, she's a real estate agent, she works from home, he works from home as well. She's got her laundry right there. So when they're living alone and no one's there, no visitors, they want to have everything open. So barn doors, pocket doors, all of that. But
Yeah.
I agree. I think we're moving away from the space being completely open to having the flexibility to close up. For
You know,
sure.
it's interesting.
And you know
Older homes built back in the turn of the century, you would have that front sitting room where, you know,
Yeah.
you could kind of go to the parents would disappear and they would have their conversation in the front room with their friends, and then there'd be the kitchen, and then there'd be the living room, and there'd be the dining room. And now it's like you do want that room to disappear. You can have a private conversation on the phone, or you can have a Zoom call where no one's going to bother you. So having that space now, it's like those homes now that are being renovated who didn't take that front room and absorb it into the middle room are now like, oh, I'm glad I kept that room.
Well,
That's
and
so
also,
you know what?
and
Something
also
that
it's kind of significant in the sense that more different generations of ages are now living together.
Sure.
Whereas
Yes.
because
True.
of
That's
economic reasons, not just because of COVID, but also as real estate is more expensive and more people are staying together, families are staying together.
True.
So there's just more bodies in the house than there was. And that's also changed the dynamic and maybe more identified by the fact of being isolated together now.
I think
for
there's
sure.
something
And you know what?
important to
One
the
thing that we
idea.
have to remember when we're, go ahead, Glenn.
Okay.
Go ahead.
That most of the way that we have divided space up traditionally was
I'm going to
either
grab a
based
charger.
but was based on heat. So we needed to make small rooms in order to be able to heat them efficiently.
Yeah.
And as time has evolved, you know, the whole process of moving the kitchen away from, you know, just not the little, but a space that women worked in and men never went to. And then all of a sudden that with women's lib, that changed. And so all of a sudden it became sort of the heart of the house and became a big, huge thing. And so most of the way that houses have evolved over time have been about their functionality, how we use them. And now, what I anticipate will happen is that you're no longer going to need your house just to be a place that you hang out with the family at the end of the day. It's also my office. It's my workspace. It's where we entertain ourselves. And it needs a bunch of opportunity to be able to, most importantly, flex. Not so much that unless you're really blessed to have a ginormous home, it's not probable that you're going to have an officer mom and officer dad, a place for the kids to have their office and school and blah, blah, blah. It's going to have to be, you know, for this time this closes up. It's cute, but a friend of mine who is working from home has a little backer for when she does all of her meetings, which are generally Skype, and then she has like a stop sign, and she has 3 dots for the kids. And green means that it's fine to come in and interrupt me. I'm just working, but I'm not on a call. Yellow means I'm meeting with somebody. So if it's really important and you want to come in quickly and say hello, or you want to come in quickly and ask a question, it's fine. And red means,
That's great.
she says red means,
I love that.
only if there's blood and your father can't deal with it, may you come into this room.
I love it. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But it's
and you know what?
it's because the functionality is so important. We need the flexibility to be able to have something behind me just for that moment that says, I need a private space and a quiet space. So let's make a change. And so even those dividers, I think, are going to have to be sound absorbing so that you can, each person can successfully work in the same house while it's an office, and then take them all away when it's time to have dinner.
Okay. So
well, here's a blending of 2 of the questions. Somebody asked about glass, and then somebody's asking about open spaces. I've recently done a condo that had a very open concept leading into a den that is now being used as a bedroom because we're all at home. And what we put in there as a divider was a smoked glass door that could slide open. So it's not really closing up the space. You can still see the light coming through it, but it definitely turns it into a bedroom when it needs to be, but you can still have that open kind of feeling without putting a solid door or a solid wall in place.
Yeah, those
Actually,
some
there's glass now that has the technology of you can choose for it to be clear or frosted.
Perfect.
So
Absolutely.
you can, it just like, I don't know, there's reaction with the glass.
It's an electromagnetic
It's not
technology.
necessarily
It's fun.
attainable though by everybody, but
No.
It's actually not crazy in the price points, if depending on how much you do.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
okay, at the end of the day, I think what we want to also share with everyone is that there's a lot of technology that is affordable, that is going to make your, going to serve you and make use of your spaces in a much more efficient way and in a fun way too. So there are a lot of products out there. They're easy to get there, and there's many that are affordable and hopefully make your home more enjoyable.
Absolutely. And on that note, Yasmin, I think that we're at 4:12 now. Looks like we've kept quite a few people on the line.
We wait
Actually,
till
probably.
4:20, no?
We can just keep going.
Well, I mean, obviously,
No.
I thought
that's what
4:20 was the
easy for us
right
to do.
time, given that it's now legal.
Oh, 4:20. I mean, we could all share in that, I
Glenn,
suppose.
that's a good point.
But
Thank you so much.
we're 4:12. It looks like
Thank
we're
you.
going to wrap up. Just keep everything concise with keeping everything consistent through our series.
Yes.
And again, Glenn, Evelyn, and Janice, I want to thank you on behalf of the Design Conversations team here and Yasmin. We thank you wholeheartedly for being here for us with episode 2. And Glenn, you've got a visitor.
Oh, yeah.
You do?
That happens. It's working from home.
Right, working from home. I love it. Let's keep everything real. Keeping it real, right? Keeping it real. All right.
That's totally true.
So thank you very
guys.
much. And we'll see
I'm
you
honored
guys.
to be
having
part of
us.
this. Thank you so much.
Honestly,
Thanks,
thank you so
everyone.
much. I hope everybody enjoyed. Thank you.
I'm going
Okay.
Thank you.
to end the recording. And when I end the recording, the screen will go dark for everybody. So if the panelists just want to check their email after this, I want to thank all the audience members that are still listening for attending and hope everybody has a great afternoon. Thanks very much.